Hello again, Gills fans, and welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. Finally, I make a return after something of a hiatus, having been battling anxiety and depression for the last few weeks. So before we get started and I introduce you to today's guest, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's reached out, reposted, shared, called me, WhatsApped me, just generally been there for me. Social media at times can be very toxic, but I've seen the best of it over the last 5 or 6 weeks. So it really is appreciated. It's not gone unnoticed. Every comment, message, like I say, I may not have replied to every single one of them, but I can promise you I have read each and every one of them. So it is massively appreciated. But that is not the reason we are here today. We are back talking about football. And I'm pleased to say, for the first match preview in the best part of a month or so, I am joined by Danny of the One Up Front Salford City podcast. You can find them on Twitter at One Up Front SCFC. So please go and give them a follow. I'll put the details in the description at the bottom of the video for all that you need to know regarding the Ammies ahead of this week's game. Danny, first of all, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you listening to me waffle on at the start there. And yeah, it's good to be back talking about football.
No, I was gonna. It's funny enough. You were the person I was going to reach out to for my review. So you actually beat me to the punch. The fact I'm on your preview, so happy days for me.
Good stuff, yeah, and hopefully, yeah. So we'll be chatting again at the weekend. We might both be smiling. One of us might be smiling more than the other, but we will see.
Yeah.
Obviously, only time will tell in the next couple of days. But yeah, it's been a funny old season for both clubs. I think in one way or another. Looking at the last six in the league for Gills, it's not great reading at the moment. There's 2 wins and 4 defeats in the last half dozen games. The wins came against MK Dons and Swindon Town, and then reverses have come at the hands of Walsall, Notts County, Newport, and most recently Wrexham last Saturday. So it's 6 points from 18 for the Gills. I nearly said Neil Harris's Gills then. It's not Neil Harris's Gills anymore. It hasn't been for a while. We currently sit 10th with 25 points from our 17 fixtures. For Salford, it's 8 points from the last 18 available, so slightly better, but still not probably as good as what Danny and the Salford City fan base want. There's been wins against Crewe Alexander and Doncaster, a couple of draws against Swindon Town and Barrow, and defeats at the hand of Wrexham and Mansfield Town. And Salford currently sit 15th with 21 points. I want to ask you about us first, which is a little bit different, Danny, because
Okay.
the last 6 games for us have all been without Neil Harris after his sacking at the start of October. I was doing a little bit of research, obviously, before we come to talk to you. Up until Neil Harris's dismissal, we'd played 11, won 6, drawn 1 and lost 4. And we'd taken 19 points at 1.72 points per game. Since then, we've taken 6 points from 6 games. We've lost 4. We conceded the same amount of goals in that time as well. There's been no real improvement in terms of the goal scoring output at the other end of the pitch. Gills fans were probably fairly split in terms of how they wanted us to play, whether they wanted Neil gone. I just wanted to get your thoughts really on the dismissal as an outsider looking in.
I mean, to be honest, unless I were looking at the wrong stats, I actually thought, is it your defensive record until recently very good?
Mm-hmm, yeah,
and that's something that if you look at ours, I know we've rebounded a little bit in terms of results, but we feel like a car crash at the back, and any team that can actually get a few zeros on the board is a team that I look at and think, is there a problem there? It's something that I'm jealous of. So maybe in that instance, I wouldn't have been looking to change.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not intimately familiar with every up and down of your club. So, but yeah, from the outsider's view, a nice defensive record is the one thing that I wish we had, because I think we've got the top scorer in the league, or very, very close in Matt Smith. So
he's only got one less than us, full stop.
Well, yeah, but it's the thing is we're shipping at the other end, so it's kind of like we're playing basketball, not football. Really, we're going end to end, and we're not paying enough attention, I don't think, to what's happening in our own penalty area.
That's literally, you just answered my next question pretty much. I've written notes.
Oh, right.
I think you still score plenty, which you've done ever since you returned to the Football League. But only 4 clean sheets in all competitions up to this point must be a bit of a concern. Is that the only reason, though, why you're down in 15th at the moment? Because I know we was on Gabe Sutton's EFL show together a few weeks ago, and you was a bit concerned about the style of play. Has that improved now, or has Neil Wood adjusted? because obviously you've got Matt Smith, you've mentioned him. We know that he's got 13 in 17 in the league, so he's absolutely flying. So he's not a player that you can take out the team. You need him. You need his goals.
That's right.
But when we spoke probably a month or two ago, you was a bit concerned about whether the system fitted around Matt Smith and whether the Matt Smith fitted around the system and the style of play as well. So have there been adaptations to how you've set up to sort of accommodate Smith and his strengths, or is that just a weird sort of anomaly and that he's got loads of goals in the team that probably doesn't play the way you think Matt Smith would thrive in?
The short answer to that, and I'm not a one for short answers, but the elevator pitch to response would be to say that Matt Smith has now fitted in with the rest of the team rather than the other way around. So, I mean, there's been injury concerns, and you're absolutely right. When I was on the EFL debate, my mental state in terms of how happy and positive I was about our team, I was very, very, very down. Really down.
Yeah, because I thought you was almost saying it was going to be a relegation battle type.
I did, and you know, and the fat lady hasn't sung yet, so you know, I'm not calling it either way. But I genuinely feel I'm not a results fan, really. We need results, but I'm more of a performance indicator person and a bit of an analyst on that side. And ever since around that period, we took a bit of an upswing since we beat Newport. After that, the performance have got incrementally better. Yes, Wrexham came back and robbed us of a win in the last few minutes, but they had us on the back foot, so that's fine. And even the Mansfield game we lost just on the weekend, I actually call my episode Reasons to be Cheerful Part 1, because there are things that are going on, including Matt Smith's goals and the way we're using him, that give me hope, which I didn't have about a month ago.
Yeah, so it is, and I get you have to look at both sides of the things. It's easy to just look at the results and go, "Oh, they've won 4 out of 6, they're playing well," or "They've lost 5 out of 6, they're not playing well." I mean, we've lost 4 out of 6, and I'd say I've not really seen anything different to what Keith Millen was trying to do in the interim period that he had, which was 5 league fixtures. I've not really seen anything different to what Neil Harris was trying to do, certainly towards the end part of his reign.
Yeah.
So for me, going back to the sacking quickly, it still doesn't make sense to me in terms of, we had this statement that come out and said they wanted a change of direction. They want someone that's going to play a completely different way. Then for me, why didn't you just say to Neil Harris at the end of last season, thanks, but we're going to go elsewhere, rather than give him the whole summer to go and get players in that are going to play the way he wants to play? And now we're expecting Stephen Clements to spend 2.5 months before a transfer window trying to get players to play his way, when they're not probably comfortable doing it because they've been set up to play under Neil Harris. So for me, there's probably still lots of questions rather than answers regarding the sacking. And for me, it still points to something maybe happening between the Tuesday defeat at Crewe at the start of October and the announcement coming on the Thursday morning, because it to me, we all knew how Neil Harris played. He'd been here for 18 months. He played a certain way to get us from bottom of the league to 17th at the end of last season. We knew it was functional rather than fancy and pretty and nice on the eye. And you're an expert probably more than me in terms of how League Two operates, because you've been in it longer than we have. I don't think there's loads of teams that play the right way. I think the right way is playing football that ultimately can get you out of this division. And I think that's a bonus if you can play nice football. Is that a fair assessment of League Two? I think there's probably less teams that get out of it playing tippy-tappy football than there is teams that are robust, defensively sound, play off a front man and get their good players on the ball in the final third.
What I would say is, without going too deep, I think because one of the most recent appointments at MK Dons, I've got massive hopes that he's going to be an incredible manager. What's he called? Mike Williamson, who used to play at Newcastle. When I saw them, because my dad's team is Oldham Athletic, so I watched those quite a bit. And when they played Gateshead earlier this season, I could not believe the standard of play that Gateshead had. Forget Oldham, they're irrelevant. But Gateshead shocked me, because I thought, I don't see anything approaching. Notts County are very impressive, I'll admit, in our league, in terms of actually keeping the ball on the floor. But Gateshead, and now he's gone to MK Dons, I think they will be a real, true, well-coached, proper, pleasing football team. for sure.
And that's what I'd call an MK Dons appointment. I didn't think
Yeah.
Graham Alexander was an MK Dons appointment, and now he's probably gone to Bradford. And no disrespect to the way Bradford City play, I'd say that's probably more a Graham Alexander and a Bradford City type fit. They play to Andy Cook, and then they get players off of him in the final third, and that's when your other players come to the fore.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
Mike Williamson was mentioned amongst our fan base, to be fair. But
I
again,
would have
that's
loved
nice if you've got the players to do it straight away. But we haven't because we've been set up to play. Let's play fairly direct, and then you get your number 10 and your eights or your wingers onto the ball in the final third. Our main issue is clearly that we still don't create or score enough, and it's been the problem for the best part of 2 years, unfortunately. So that's something that we desperately need to work on. But for me, the timing is probably the strangest thing of the sacking, and the fact that we were 4 points off top and 1 point off third when it happened, and we're now 13 points off top and about 10 points off third says to me that only time will tell at the end of the day. We can only decide whether the sacking and the appointment of Stephen Clements was truly successful or a failure come the end of the season. But
Absolutely.
in terms of Salford, again, we've obviously mentioned Matt Smith. We've mentioned your form. I want to speak about Neil Wood as well, though. I know you had concerns surrounding him when we spoke previously on the EFL debate with Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've mentioned, you're a lot more upbeat about it now. You've seen signs in the performances, you're seeing signs of it in the results as well. And I think you've always got a chance at this level if you've got a bloke who's going along at just under a goal a game, because proper goal scorers in League Two are a tenner penny. You either spend lots on getting them, or I think generally you have to have lots of players that chip in with quite a few goals. So you're halfway there in terms of that battle. Did notice Matt Smith come off at half time in the cup replay, though. Was that just a precaution, or was that just the plan, or was there an injury or some sort of niggle?
I'm hoping it's just he's an older lad. He's a big lad. I think he needs a rest. Because I don't think the plan was last season to use him very much. Neil Wood, as I may have said on previous podcasts, that he didn't play Smith last season in Neil Wood's first season for 2 games consecutively until about this time last year. So he really kind of used Matt Smith sparingly, because he thought a target man coming from the Man United Academy under 23s where Neil Wood used to coach, that's not the kind of player he would need, and we understand that. But his contract was extended, as in Matt Smith, and this season we tried the first 2 games without him. We looked okay, and then he's gone back to the safety blanket of thinking, big lad up front, we'll use him. And it's not sustainable. I mean, you're right. He's almost going at a goal a game. I looked at it before we talked. He's on 0.86 goals per 90. Not sustainable. He's not that good. No. Across a 40-odd game season, that's not going to happen. But for the time being, it's masking some of the deficiencies at the back. And I do like some of the tactical tweaks that Neil Wood has used with the injury crisis we've had. Elliot Watt's been out, who I think I probably mentioned on the EFL debate.
I said I thought he was key in terms of coming back when we spoke previously, because you look at his numbers last year in terms of assists. If you get him 15 on the park, then you know that Matt Smith's going to come to the fore and become a massive threat, and other players as well. So I think, that's a huge thing. You talk about tactical changes and tweaks as well. I was looking, obviously it's apps, so you can tell me more, but it seems you've been fairly flexible in terms of formations. You can line up as a back three. I think you played a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, a 4-4-1. So there's plenty of fluidity in terms of how you line up, which is always a bonus as well. So how are you feeling about Neil Wood now? A lot more positive than you was 6 weeks ago?
Yeah,
I suppose he's got credit in the bank because of last season, where you're, not a million miles away from being a League One football club.
Yeah, I mean, it's one. I think I may have mentioned again, possibly even on that episode, that Neil Wood himself doesn't seem to have a fan base within the fan base as a person, because he doesn't have the charisma that a dynasty or a legacy manager, a long-term manager has. He's not been there long enough, and he doesn't say very much that's that interesting to listen to either. And if Neil's watching, I apologise, but so I actually think that there's always going to be the fans who want the new bright shiny button, the new manager, even when you're doing well, when you're not doing well, whatever. But I think he showed me a lot last season in terms of It takes a while to adjust to when we're playing badly, but he always seems to figure it out so far. He's got us out of the slumps. He may have caused us to be in the slumps, but he's actually figured it out and switched us now to, or what would I call it? Like it was a 5-2-1, 5-1-2, 5-2-1-2 or something like that. It's interesting the way he's messing with the formation. The only thing I would say is he's possibly doing a bit of too much tinkering, but maybe that's because of the injury concern. So I'm going to give him a get out of jail for that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, like you say, if you've got people that are unavailable and you have to do in the old square pegs round holes type of thing, then sometimes needs must and that type of thing as well. But
Yeah,
I think, again, from an outsider's perspective, like I asked you the question about Neil Harris, I don't know what goes on a day-to-day basis like you guys do, so it's slightly more difficult. But he's certainly a manager that, from the outside looking in, you'd say surely he gets to January at the very least, unless there's a
yeah,
big slump, because what he did last season was penalty shootout, I think, wasn't it, away from being at Wembley? So
yeah.
them finals are just one-off games. I think you need a bit of luck in them types of fixtures, and like you say, you could be sitting here. You wouldn't be sitting here talking to me if you was a League One club. So in that sense, I'm grateful that you didn't get promoted and we've got you on the channel.
Can I
Of
say one thing about that though, if I
course you
could?
can.
I'd love to say that if we actually got promoted, I actually think Neil would have been sacked by now because he would have been so bad and so unprepared squad wise, and just we're not there. We're still not there. We're not going to get up this season either. So I think there would have been real. We may not have won a game by now if we went up to League One. So in a sense, it was almost a bit of a positive to actually not get that far. So I just thought I'd slip that in there because I
No,
do
that's
feel
false.
that
Yeah,
strongly.
I think a lot of people, if you're going back to the turn of the millennium, I think with hindsight, it was probably a good thing that Gills lost to Man City in '99, and then they was better equipped when they went up the season after. So it's similar things, yeah.
Yeah,
And Neil would have been better for the experience as well in terms of
yeah,
reacting to losing a game like that and getting another 12 months at League Two under his belt with league experience. So
mm-hmm.
there's always silver linings, I think, to every negative, and you have to just try and find them. Um, Team news, obviously, we're not sure yet because we're recording this on a Wednesday, and
Yeah.
generally most teams have a day off on a Wednesday, and the press conferences are Thursday. But what are we thinking in terms of how you're going to line up come 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon? Have you got any problems with injuries and that type of thing, or suspensions, or is it?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. The biggest one, I only kind of totted it up this morning, but in terms of bookings, Ethan Ingram, who is one of our loanees from West Brom, who is our
Mhm.
right back, but technically we play a five, so he's our right wing back, will be suspended for Saturday. So I think you're very, very fortunate to have that situation because he is, since he joined on deadline day, he's been probably, although he's not got the goals of Matt Smith, he's been our second biggest attacking outlet this season. So the fact we've not got him and we've got a lot of defensive injuries, I'm really not sure what formation we are going to play. It might not be a five because we've probably not got five bodies to put in a back line. So
Oh, okay.
Callum Hendry's still out, which is our link striker behind Matt Smith. So you won't see him for 3 weeks. So you ask Elliot what is back in body, but not in mind, I would say. He's still not quite zipping it around like he used to. So we're a little bit below par, but we're rounding out of a slump. So we've got a chance.
And I think your away form's slightly better than your form on your own patch as well, isn't it? I think. I mean,
Yeah.
both are fairly inconsistent, similar to ours, but I don't think there's a great deal of difference between what our numbers are at home and what yours are on the road. So it all points to being, well, we know your score, but there's a chance you'll concede. So then it's whether we can actually start taking some chances that we do
Yeah.
create. So it could be an intriguing game. I think Gills are still going to be without Ollie Hawkins, Ashley Nadersson, and Robbie McKenzie. They're the three that have been unavailable for a while now. I mean, we've not seen Ollie at all this season because of a problem with his heel, but I believe he is back on the grass, same as the other two. But whether Saturday is too soon, then that remains to be seen. It'd be nice to have one of Hawkins or Nadersson even on the bench because it'd give us either a target man or some out and out pace in forward areas, which I think we lack and we've lacked for a long time. And it's something that still desperately needs rectifying. Um, it's difficult to gauge what we'd predict as an 11 because we've only had 2 games under Stephen Clements, and he's picked, I think, the same 11 as Keith Millen was doing. So it's, again, it goes back to my point earlier. Have I actually seen anything too different from what we were seeing 6 weeks ago when Neil was still in charge? Probably not. If it was me, though, I think I'd be inclined to make a couple of changes, maybe change the shape to get 2 up top. I know that's been a concern of a lot of Gills fans. Why are we not trying to be more on the front foot? And I get to counter that, well, the modern game says that you play 3 in behind a centre forward, and if you do it correctly, then you can be successful. But I'd be inclined maybe to try and get 2 centre forwards on. Obviously, it's difficult to work out what system Salford might end up playing. So there's that sort of conundrum to overcome as well. But if it was me, I'd go Jake Turner in goal. I'd make a change in defence. I think Shadogi has been very good this season. I've been really impressed since he arrived from Orient, but I think there's just been signs in the last few weeks that maybe, because he's still only young, he's probably played more games this season than he did last. So I think there might be a case to just take him out. So I'd go back to the tried and tested back central pair of Connor Masterson and Maxima. And then I imagine it'll be Shay Alexander and Scott Malone as fullbacks. I'd keep Ethan Coleman and Dom Jeffries in the side, but I'd probably go to a diamond, I think. Just to maybe combat someone like Watt and any type of number 10 that you play. I'd bring Timmy Dieng in. I think we just need some experience and some physicality in the middle of the park, and someone who's just, going to go and put his foot in. Obviously will pose a threat in terms of aerial ability as well. So he'd be good in both boxes for that type of situation. So I'd go Coleman at the base of the diamond, Dieng and Dom Jeffries from the sides, and Connor Mahoney in the 10. And then if we do need to go to a flat 4, you can just tell Dom to go to the left and Mahoney to the right. And I'd go Tom Nichols and Macaulay Bonne up front. I think Macaulay Bonne's probably better in the air than plenty give him credit for. So I think, and I don't think Tom Nichols has been the same player since he's missed his mate Ollie Hawkins this season. I mean, if you look at their numbers together when they joined in January, I think they scored 9 or 10 between them in half a season. And I think it was probably getting close to that in terms of assists as well. So I think Tom's missing his mate. So if we can give him a partner, I think he'll come alive again. So yeah, that would be my team. It's going to be, I remember last season, I know we was in the midst of one of the worst non-goal scoring runs imaginable. I think we'd only scored 6 in the first half of the season. If I remember rightly, I thought we were decent at our place against yours last season, first half though, but just didn't take chances, and then switched off, I think, twice in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and you ran out 3-0 winners in the end. And we all know about the reverse fixture, which was the final day of the campaign, and slightly dubious penalty. I think it's the kindest way to put it.
Yeah.
That we managed to tuck away. But it certainly showed that we've made strides in terms of where we were when we played you at our place. So final question before I let you go, Dan, is obviously the dreaded score prediction. I've written mine down, so I'll let you go first.
Ooh. It's okay. So let's have a think, because we do score, like you said. The signs were last night with a 4-4 in the cup that we've not sorted our defensive problems out, although it was against the League One team.
Wasn't you 3-1 up at one point?
We were 3-1 down.
Oh, was it 3-1 down?
Yeah. It's at the end of the first half, I believe. And I think we took Matt Smith off then, and everyone thought we're just resting him and we're kind of just going to coast out. And we came back, but that's a story to be told. But I don't think we'll score 4 again.
We definitely won't score 4.
No. I mean, I just one thing I wanted to say when I was looking at your guys' stats, I was thinking, am I looking at the wrong table of your highest scorer? I mean, like, is it like 3? Is it 3 or 2?
It's 3 in the league. Macaulay Bonne's got 3 in the league. I think Naderson's got 2 in the league, 1 in the cup. And Robbie McKenzie, who's technically a right back or defensive midfielder by trade, he's got 3 in all competitions. He scored off the bench opening day at Stockport, and then scored twice against Southampton, had 1 disallowed for a hat-trick.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the same problems. Lowest scorers in the league, again, despite the takeover coming last Christmas and the new players. But like I say, we've not had Naderson now for over a month. Hawkins has been missing all season. So in our defence, we've been running with essentially Macaulay Bonne and an 80% fit Tom Nichols for the last 4 weeks, which is, you can't be doing. So I think, again, that's going to be an area that needs to be looked at regardless of how we play when January swings around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a problem that needs to be rectified, and it needs to be rectified quickly. In the same way that you said Matt Smith's goal ratio is not sustainable, us winning our first 4 games 1-0 was never going to be sustainable over an entire campaign. And then when you get told that you've got to change the way you play, you become more open. But unfortunately, the goal scoring issues remain, and then you're conceding more chances at the other end, and that's when it becomes tougher.
No, I get it. I'm not trying to dodge this score. You know, I'm not trying to deflect. It's not my forte.
Oh, it's no one's forte on here. I get them wrong every week, so you're at least trying to get it wrong once or twice this season on my show.
It's such a blank when I think of it. I think it could be just anything, but I keep thinking we're going to score 2. So I'll put that on one side of the score line, and I'll say 2-1 because again you're not scoring hatful. So I'll say we'll win 2-1 because, as you've said, our away form is better. Neil Wood is saying that's because our home pitch is actually quite constrained in terms of the dimensions. I think that's BS. I don't think that's true. I think it's more to do with the fact of what he did say in a recent interview, that when you're playing away, the home team, because of the fans behind them, have to kind of attack in some way. We are better when a team come at us and we can hit them on transition. So 2-1. That's what I'll give you.
See, I've agreed that you score 2. I think you will get a couple because I don't think we've been as solid as we should be. And then between head and heart, I was going, head was saying a 2-1 defeat. But I'm going to be positive and say that if we go 2 up front and we do finally take a couple of chances, which I think we will get plenty of chances. It's whether we can stick them away. I've gone for a Desmond.
Right, okay.
Yeah. 2-2, which I don't think it'll be a disaster for you away from home against a side that's, still only a couple of points outside the playoffs. And I think it'd get Stephen Clements up and running in terms of points on the board for us. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think if we score first, we've generally been good at front running. But if you go the other way and we concede first, we're absolutely horrific. We under Neil Harris, we won 1 league game from behind when we conceded the first goal in 18 months.
That's a mental issue. That's a psychological thing.
Absolutely is. And I think it's the same with the goal scoring issues as well now. It's just been going on for so long that players have just become they just freeze when they get into the 6-yard box, because I think we'll play some nice stuff. And generally from box to box, we're absolutely fine. It's just when we get into the final third, we either panic or we just shoot when we should pass, or we pass when we should shoot and pick the wrong option. And I'm not sure that's something that can be fixed overnight. I'm not sure that's something that can be fixed with just the current batch of players, because it's been going on for so long. You never know, it might do. Ollie Hawkins might be fit. Tom Nichols might come alive because his mate's back on the pitch and we could see a completely different Gillingham side. But we've not been high scorers for seasons now. So I don't think that's going to change too much. So if we scored 2 in a game, it'd be a massive boost.
I'll give you a little bit of insight that I believe may bear out on Saturday, that recently we have been a very, very good first half team. And I mean very good. We come out of the blocks. You can tell the scripted move from the training ground are very executed well. We normally go in front. We normally go into the changing rooms with at least a 1 or 2 goal lead. They come out for the second half and think, we've got to protect this. Oh dear. And that's where I think that's our fragility, that protecting second half leads, even if they're actually over the halftime break, has been a real problem. And I think that's because we were shell shocked with about 5 or 6 losses in the bounce earlier in the season. That I think as soon as we feel that punch on the chin, so to speak, coming back at us, we think it's going to happen again. So it's a very delicate balance, our confidence. When we're up, we're up. But as soon as somebody really takes the reins of the game, which again, maybe you will, maybe you won't tomorrow, I don't know. But that the whole mindset of the whole team is collectively very worried when we have a lead going into the second 45. So I just say to watch out for that.
Similar to us, but the other way around. Like I say, we look a completely different side when we score first. But chasing, we're absolutely horrendous. So I'd say I would put my neck on the line and say, if you're 2-0 up at half time, you win the game.
Okay.
But that's through seeing us for 18 months of not scoring and not coming back in games. So Dan, it's been a real pleasure, mate. We really enjoyed this. It's great to be
has.
back. It is nice to be starting to feel a bit normal again and doing normal things. So I appreciate you coming on. Enjoyed
Loved
that
it.
and look forward to speaking to you again Sunday morning on my show and your show, I think.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that, absolutely. Gills fans, Salford City fans, if you're still watching at this point, then thank you very much. Like I say, it's great to be back and talking about football and distraction from life's battles. We will be there Saturday for a match day live. Myself, Boz, maybe Stocky, and whoever else wants to come and say hello. So come and see us before the game. Come and give us your score predictions and all that type of stuff. And then myself, hopefully Reese from German Gills, will be joined by Danny for the match day review show Sunday morning at 9 a.m. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week and up the Gills.